Back in the 1960s, a tractor meant more than horsepower. It was the sound before sunrise, the machine that carried families through planting, hay season, and harvest. In this countdown, we're looking back at 10 tractors farmers still remember with real affection. And by the time we reach number 1, we'll get to a machine many folks still believe was one of the finest tractors ever built. Number 10, the Ford 5000. Now, this may not be the first tractor folks brag about at the coffee shop, but it is one a lot of people respected. Introduced in 1965 and built in Highland Park, Michigan, the Ford 5000 came in with a plain, work-ready look that fit the times. With its blue and light gray styling, open operator station, and straightforward layout, it looked like a tractor that came to work, not show off. Under the hood, Ford gave it a 3.8-liter, 233 cubic inch four-cylinder engine, offered in both gasoline and diesel. Power was rated around 69 horsepower, and buyers could get an 8-speed transmission, with fuller power shift options available too. That made the 5000 a strong, useful tractor for the everyday jobs that kept a farm moving. It could pull, haul, and handle long days without needing a lot of fuss. And that mattered in the 1960s, when families were asking more from one machine and needed something steady they could count on. What made the Ford 5000 beloved was not flash. It was trust. This was the kind of tractor a man climbed onto when the sky was turning gray and there was still hay to move. It had wet disc brakes, independent PTO, and the kind of practical design that fit real farm life. Sometimes the tractor people remember best is the one that showed up every day and never made a big speech about it. And as dependable as the Ford 5000 was, the next tractor on our list had a color and a presence Midwest farmers could spot from a mile away. Number 9, the Minneapolis-Moline G1000 Vista. This is one of those tractors that could turn heads before a man even knew the model number. The G1000 line came in the mid-1960s, built in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the Vista version gave it an even bolder look. That tall operator platform, set up for a wider field of view, made it feel built for big country, long rows, and open skies. And in prairie gold, it was a tractor you noticed right away. Under the hood, the G1000 used Minneapolis-Moline's big 504 cubic inch, 8.3-liter six-cylinder engine. Depending on fuel type, buyers could get diesel, gas, or LP, and the tractor was rated at 100 engine horsepower, with about 111 horsepower at the PTO. It also used a 10-speed partial power shift transmission, which gave it the kind of strength and flexibility farmers needed for serious field work. This was not a little chore tractor. It was a machine that looked and felt ready for the heavy jobs. What made the G1000 Vista beloved was more than power. It had personality. Some tractors are remembered because everybody owned one. Others are remembered because they stayed in your mind the moment you saw them. This one did exactly that. For folks across Minnesota, the Dakotas, and the upper Midwest, it still brings back the feeling of wide fields, steady pulling power, and a brand color nobody forgot. But the next tractor on our list took a different path. It even had comfort right there in the name. Number 8, the JICase 930 Comfort King. And that name alone tells you something about the 1960s. By then, a tractor was no longer judged only by how hard it pulled. Farmers were starting to care more about how a machine felt through a long day. Built in Racine, Wisconsin from 1960 to 1969, with the Comfort King version introduced in 1962, the 930 still had that serious, heavy case look. It was a standard tread tractor with an open operator station, power assist steering, and a stance that said one thing right away: this machine meant business. Under the hood, the 930 used Case's 6.6-liter, 401 cubic inch six-cylinder diesel. It came with a 6-speed gear transmission, and Nebraska test figures put it at about 80.65 horsepower at the PTO, with 83 horsepower claimed at the belt. That gave it the kind of steady strength Midwest farmers respected. It was not a show tractor. It was a big, grounded work tractor, the kind you could picture on heavy tillage, long days, and real field pressure. For loyal Case families, that mattered. The 930 Comfort King felt like proof that Case could move into a newer era without giving up the toughness people already trusted. And that is why this tractor is still remembered so warmly. A beloved tractor does not always have to be the most famous one. Sometimes it just has to be the one that made a farm family feel they were keeping up with the times while holding on to the values they believed in. But the next tractor on our list won hearts in a different way. It was not the biggest. It just felt right on a family farm. Number 7. The Allis-Chalmers D17 Series 4. Now this is where the list starts to feel a little more personal. Because on a lot of dairy farms and mixed farms, the most beloved tractor was not always the biggest one. It was the one that could handle chores in the morning, hay in the afternoon, and still feel right doing both. That is exactly where the D17 Series 4 earned its place. The Series 4 was the final version of the D17 line, built from 1964 through 1967, and it carried that familiar Allis-Chalmers orange with the kind of honest, balanced look farmers still remember. It was a row crop tractor with an open operator station, built to be used every day, not just admired from a distance. Under the hood, the gasoline D17 used a 226 cubic inch, 3.7-liter four-cylinder Allis-Chalmers engine rated at 63 horsepower. It came with an 8-speed partial power shift transmission, and Nebraska testing on the D17 showed about 48.64 drawbar horsepower and 52.70 belt horsepower. Those numbers tell part of the story, but what mattered more on a family farm was how usable it felt. This was a tractor with enough strength for real work, yet still handy enough to move from one job to the next without feeling oversized or awkward. There was something honest about the D17 Series 4. It felt right on smaller fields, around feed lots, beside hay wagons, and in the steady rhythm of a farm where one dependable tractor had to matter in more than one way. That is why people still speak about it with warmth. Not because it was flashy, but because it fit real life. And the next tractor on our list carries a different kind of loyalty altogether. Different color, different crowd, but just as much pride. Number 6. The Oliver 1650. For the folks who grew up around Oliver tractors, this one needs no introduction. Built from 1964 to 1969 in Charles City, Iowa, the 1650 had that quiet kind of presence Oliver people still remember. It was a row crop tractor, clean in its lines, balanced in its stance, and never trying too hard to impress. That was part of its charm. The 1650 did not chase attention. It earned respect the old-fashioned way, one season at a time. What made it beloved was how naturally it fit farm life. Oliver offered it with a Waukesha Oliver 6-cylinder engine, including a 283 cubic inch diesel, and power was right around 66 horsepower at the PTO. Buyers could get a simple 6-speed, or step up to Oliver's 2-speed power shift setups, including hydropower and hydraul shift. That meant the tractor had real working strength, but it still felt smooth and useful in everyday jobs. Power assist steering, disc brakes, independent PTO, and even an optional cab helped make it the kind of tractor a man could spend long hours on without fighting it all day. And that is why Oliver people remember this tractor in such a personal way. It was not just about horsepower. It was the look, the feel, the steady pull, and the way it seemed to belong on a Midwest farm. Some tractors are remembered for one big feature. The Oliver 1650 is remembered because the whole package felt right. And the next tractor on our list takes us back into red country, where a lot of farmers felt the modern age was coming on fast. Number 5. The Farmall 706. This is the kind of tractor that feels like the center of the story on a lot of working farms in the 1960s. Built from 1963 to 1967 in Rock Island, Illinois, the Farmall 706 was a row crop tractor that sat right in the sweet spot for many Midwest families. It was not just a machine people noticed. It was a machine people moved up to. And that mattered. For a lot of farmers, stepping into a 706 meant the farm was growing, changing, and trying to keep pace with a new era. The 706 still carried that trusted Farmall red, but it also pointed ahead. Early diesel models used the International Harvester D282 6-cylinder engine, and later ones moved to the German-built D310. Gas versions were offered too, and overall power was rated at 89 horsepower gross, with tested PTO output reaching the mid-70s. Buyers could get an 8-speed transmission or a 16-speed setup with a newer torque amplifier, plus fast hitch or a standard 3-point hitch. It even offered an optional cab, with air conditioning available starting in 1966. That all added up to a tractor that felt more modern, more capable, and more ready for the long days farms were asking of one machine. What made the Farmall 706 beloved was how naturally it fit everyday progress. It was not old-fashioned, and it was not oversized. It just felt right for real farm life. A lot of viewers are going to hear this name and think of a father, an uncle, or a neighbor who trusted that tractor season after season. And yet, the next machine on our list took that same red loyalty and gave farmers even more strength, more confidence, and in many cases, even more pride. Number 4, the Oliver 1850. If the 1650 was the dependable everyday hand, the 1850 felt like the stronger brother that showed up ready for bigger work. Built from 1964 to 1969, the Oliver 1850 was a row crop tractor with a clean, confident look, power assist steering, differential disc brakes, and an open operator station, with an Oliver Continental cab available for farmers who wanted more protection and comfort. It looked sharp, but it never felt showy. It looked like a machine that belonged in the field. What made the 1850 so respected was the way it balanced real strength with real manners. Oliver offered it with Waukesha Oliver gasoline or LP engines, and with the Perkins 354 6-cylinder diesel that many people still praise today. Power was right around 92 horsepower at the PTO, and buyers could choose a 6-speed transmission, a 12-speed partial power shift, or later an 18-speed partial power shift. In Nebraska testing, the diesel version put down just under 93 PTO horsepower, which helps explain why this tractor earned such a solid name in the field. It was powerful enough to matter, but still comfortable enough to live with day after day. And that is a big reason Oliver fans still talk about the 1850 with such warmth. It was strong without feeling rough, capable without feeling clumsy. For a lot of Midwest farmers, this tractor was more than a good machine. It was part of a brand identity that still means something. The 1850 had that rare quality of feeling serious, useful, and just plain right. And now we are heading into the top 3, where the names get bigger, the memories get deeper, and the arguments at the coffee shop get a whole lot louder. Number 3, the John Deere 3020. There's a strong argument that for many family farms, this was one of the handiest tractors ever built. The John Deere 3020 was built from 1964 to 1972 in Waterloo, Iowa, and more than 74,000 row crop versions were made. It was not the biggest machine in the shed, and that is exactly why so many people loved it. The 3020 felt useful in the truest sense of the word. It had that clean new generation look, an open operator station, power steering, wet disc brakes, and the kind of balanced stance that just looked right sitting in a farmyard. This was the kind of tractor that could slip into the daily rhythm of a farm without ever feeling out of place. John Deere offered it with gasoline, diesel, and LP engines, including a 4.4-liter 4-cylinder diesel, along with an 8-speed synchro range or 8-speed power shift transmission. Claimed PTO power ran about 70 horsepower with synchro range, and Nebraska testing put the diesel synchro range at 71.26 PTO horsepower. That was enough power for real field work, but it still felt light on its feet for chores, loader work, and the 100 small jobs that filled a week on a family farm. And that is why the 3020 stayed beloved. It looked right, sounded right, and felt like a tractor built by people who understood what farmers actually needed. It was not trying to be larger than life. It simply did its job, day after day, in a way people trusted. For a lot of John Deere families, that steady usefulness became part of the memory of the farm itself. But the tractor at number 2 was painted red, and plenty of Farmall and IH folks still defend it with a smile, and sometimes a little argument too. Number 2, the Farmall 806. For a whole lot of red-blooded IH families, this tractor could just as easily be number 1. Built from 1963 to 1967 in Rock Island, Illinois, the Farmall 806 arrived when farmers wanted more power and more confidence heading into a new era. It had that unmistakable red Farmall look, an open operator station, power steering, hydraulic dry disc brakes, and the kind of row crop stance that made it look ready for serious work the minute you saw it. Under the hood, buyers could get a 301 cubic inch six-cylinder gasoline engine or the larger 361 cubic inch six-cylinder diesel. The diesel was rated at 110 gross horsepower, and in Nebraska testing it delivered about 94.9 horsepower at the PTO, with 84.7 horsepower at the drawbar. The 806 also offered an 8-speed transmission, with torque amplifier available, and that helped give it the kind of steady, usable strength farmers remembered. This was not just power for bragging rights. This was power a farmer could put to work in the field, season after season. What made the 806 beloved was that it felt like a statement. It told farmers that International Harvester was still in the fight and still building tractors that could stand tall in a changing world. For many owners, this was more than a purchase. It was pride. It was loyalty. It was the red tractor in the shed proving it could still handle real work. And that is why the 806 still sparks debate today. Because the machine at number 1 may be legendary, but this one was a worthy rival every step of the way. Number 1. The John Deere 4020. For many farmers, this is not just a beloved tractor from the 1960s. It is one of the greatest tractors ever built. The John Deere 4020 was produced from 1963 to 1972, mainly in Waterloo, Iowa, and more than 184,000 were built. It had that clean new generation look, power steering, hydraulic wet disc brakes, an open operator station, and an optional cab. Right from the start, it looked like a tractor built to work hard and stay useful for a long, long time. Under the hood, the 4020 offered 6-cylinder power, including a 6.6-liter diesel, and buyers could choose an 8-speed synchro range or an 8-speed power shift transmission. In Nebraska testing, later diesel versions delivered about 95.8 horsepower at the PTO and just over 83 horsepower at the drawbar. Those numbers mattered, but they are not the whole story. What made the 4020 special was the balance. It had real strength, real reliability, and a kind of smooth usefulness that made long days feel more manageable. That is why the 4020 stayed in people's minds long after its years had passed. It showed up in shed rows, sale barns, and family stories because it earned that place. Deere's own history notes that the 4020 showed farmers the company was innovative and reliable, and that rings true even now. For a Midwest audience over 55, this tractor means more than farming. It means morning starts, the smell of fresh-turned ground, and the quiet pride of getting the crop in on time. When people talk about beloved tractors from the 1960s, this is the name that so often rises to the top. When you look back at tractors like these, the first thing people remember usually is not the spec sheet. It is the sound, the seat, the long day, and that feeling that once the engine fired up, the farm could move forward. These machines helped carry a generation through some of the hardest and most honest work there is. They were more than tractors. They were part of family life, part of the land, and part of the memories that still stay with people today. Now I would love to hear from you. Which of these tractors did you grow up with, work with, or still have a soft spot for? And what beloved tractor from the 1960s would you add to this list? Share your memories down in the comments.